So John Wick Chapter 2 is, as the name suggests, the next chapter in the John Wick franchise, which the first one I absolutely loved. But can John Wick 2 hold up to my high expectations? It sits at a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the critics' consensus says that it does exactly what a sequel should do, which, in this case, is doubling down on the thrilling choreographed action. Thrillingly choreographed, sorry. So this movie is directed by only one of the directors of the first John Wick movie, Chad Stahelski, and it stars Keanu Reeves in the titular role of John Wick. John Wick is an ex-hitman. In the first movie, he seeks revenge, and in this movie, he's sort of brought back into the hitman game after trying to retire. A lot like the first movie, they sort of just throw you into the story and expect you to understand what's going on, which is something they do well in this movie. It's not a hard story to follow, especially if you've seen the first, and they do a really good job of keeping it simple. However, I will say, while it is relatively simple compared to a lot of movies nowadays, it is more complex than the first. You got more villains, more motivations, higher stakes even. In this one, it's less about just pure revenge, and it's more about the secret society and who's going to be ruling it, and there's a lot more of espionage sort of things going on. John Wick gets upgraded suit with like it's bulletproof somehow? Now that bothered me. I think that took away from the authenticity of his character, and it sort of distracts from how badass he is. Because in the first one, he's just a badass, and he can take a hit, and he doesn't need any protection. He just wears a suit, and he's cool as heck in it. And this one, his suit is bulletproof, which I think sort of distracts from him. It does help, because this is obviously a higher stakes movie, and he's gonna need more protection, so it makes sense why he would need it, but I really just wish they had stuck to just purely being just a man, a really great hitman. I can say the action in this movie is just as good as the action in the first one. It's stylized, there's neon lights, there's some really long takes that are impressively done. Check out my review of the first one if you want to see me talk about the action more, because I probably am going to say about the same things, so I don't want to repeat myself. So just go watch review of John Wick. There's one action scene in particular that stands out to me, and that's an action scene in a mirror maze. There might be parts of it in the trailers, I don't know, I don't tend to watch trailers as much anymore. But it really impressed me, and they did a lot with the mirrors, and it was a really, really cool scene. And it just stood out. The rest of the action scenes were really good, but as I said, they were reminiscent of the first one, and that one stood out the most. The ending of this one is very open-ended. They're obviously setting up for John Wick Chapter 3, which I'm okay with, and I sort of like what they're setting up. It looks really, really interesting. However, I think it's kind of a cop-out at the end of the second movie to set up a third. I don't know. What they did with this one is they didn't set up this one at the end of the first one, but they continued it from things that were left undone in the first one, if that makes sense. So like the first one could have been a standalone movie, but in this one they brought in elements of it to tie them together, whereas this one it ends with pure setup for the next one. Kind of a shame in my book. So I don't know if I have too much more to say about this one. It's a lot more of the same, which is good. It's a good movie. I love Keanu Reeves in it. I love all the other actors in it. There's really cool action, a neat sort of underground hitman society thing going on. But overall, it doesn't give me enough new to think that it earned a 90% that it got on Rotten Tomatoes. For me, I would have placed it somewhere between 77 and 82% seems fair to me. So I'll say the critics were wrong about John Wick Chapter 2. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends, tell everybody. And as always, steal the show.